you launched Wake Up to Politics in 2011, if I understand correctly, for your mom?
That's correct. Yeah, she was my first subscriber. I was 9 years old, and subscriber number one. And then it's been like 13 years now, so it's obviously grown a lot, and it's been an exciting ride.
So for listeners who aren't already familiar with you, how did you get started growing from your mom to those 45,000 daily readers?
Yeah, it was really, it was kind of slow and kind of very organic. I've never really kind of advertised the newsletter or kind of done very much kind of promotional, paid promotional, anything for it. It was pretty organic. It's kind of, started just kind of from my mom to my dad, so not too far, and then kind of friends and family, and kind of people forwarded it to other people, and kind of grew like that for a long time. I've certainly been helped along the way, being covered in certain kind of major media outlets, which certainly kind of helped with the growth at certain key points, whereas kind of profiled by different news outlets, and the audience would kind of grow from there. But a lot of it has just been kind of people forwarding it to other people, just saying like, this is a really helpful way I get my news. You might like it too. And that's kind of been the main vehicle of growth, which, kind of I hear every day from people that are just, so-and-so sent me a newsletter, and I'm excited to kind of see it and see if I like it for myself. And, that's kind of just how it's kept growing.
Yeah, I can say Larry actually sent me your newsletter initially, so we've proved your theory here on the podcast today.
So, Gabe, in a circumstance of art imitating life, there's actually an Apple TV series going on right now called Home Before Dark about a 9-year-old journalist. Everybody takes her seriously, which is probably not real life. But in your case, even as a reader, one could sense that there was a point where not just subscribers, but news sources started to take you seriously, and you went from just aggregating news in your bedroom in the morning to reporting and covering news. That process is not complete, obviously, because the DNC gave you convention credentials and you wrote that the RNC did not.
That is true.
So the process is ongoing. But when did people, from your perspective, start to take you seriously as a journalist?
That's a good question. I don't know if there was any one point. I think it's kind of been, evolution over time. I do think one thing is true. I think we're in a point in the media where like it is a fairly democratized space at this point. There is a lot of access points where you can kind of start something like I did, a newsletter or a podcast or kind of all sorts of different media people can start. And so I think the bar for entry is very low, but I think it's true that kind of the bar for taking seriously remains very high. And I do think, it is, important. You do have to kind of you have to show your work, and you just have to kind of keep doing it again and again. And I think just what I've proven over, 13 years now is just like a level of consistency and reliability, I hope at least, that's kind of just continued over time, not just some one-off thing that, I did in my bedroom for a few years and then kind of gave up. It's something I've kind of worked at for a long time. And I think people in Washington, other kind of journalists and media and political people have kind of noticed that, it hasn't gone away, and it's kind of kept growing. And I think that has kind of enabled it to be taken seriously. So I don't know that there was one key point. I think, back in 2019, I was a junior in high school. I scooped Bill de Blasio, then the mayor of New York, his presidential run. I think that was a big moment. That was kind of an early, scoop, which I think certainly in journalism, I wouldn't say, my work is necessarily super scoop heavy. That's not necessarily the work that I'm most focused on doing, but, obviously does help you gain credibility. I think things like that. I think the more kind of different Washington journalists started reading it and being like, oh, this person actually does have interesting insights, interesting things to say, not just kind of a kid spouting off. I think, every little bit of that helps to kind of show that you're hopefully doing something real and not just kind of superficial.